Hello and welcome to Detroit Performs. I'm your host, DJ Oliver, and I am at one of the newest art galleries to open up in Detroit, the David Klein Gallery. This gallery, located on Washington Boulevard in downtown Detroit, is David Klein's second art gallery to open up in Southeast Michigan. The first is in Birmingham and is celebrating its 25th anniversary. So we're joining in the celebration by dedicating this episode to the artists within these walls. First is visual artist Matthew Hawtin, who mixes painting, sculpture, and design in his works.
I would like my work to be a place where people just maybe lose themselves for a few seconds or for a few minutes, and maybe a place where people can, zone out, think about something else. I work in two different parallel mediums. I have works on canvas, and then I have works on fiberglass panels. The canvas works came first, and it's basically the simple elements of painting, canvas, wooden stretcher frame, and acrylic paint. And by kind of exploring that and developing that a few years ago, I felt that a way to evolve that work was to move into fiberglass panels. This is basically how I get them back from the fabricator. The surfaces are rough, but they're pretty much perfect. But along the way, I do have to shape them. So this panel, this shape of panel is what I use for all my works. I still use acrylic paint on those, so even though they're technically different, they're still kind of aligned as similar aesthetic objects. And sort of part of my language. I came about with this sort of three-dimensional canvases. I guess it was a little by one of these happy accidents when I was trying to combine a flat canvas with a three-dimensional light, a three-dimensional object. And the only way I could make the light fit into the painting was to make it three-dimensional. From that moment, I saw all this potential in this three-dimensional shape, which was still painting, but it was also sculptural. With my work, there's always a lot of sanding because the surface is, the most important. So there's continual layer and sand, and sometimes it takes 5 layers, sometimes it takes 15 layers of paint. There's always a moment where the surface is perfect, and then you just pray that you don't get a spot of paint on it somewhere. It's just part of refinement, where you're trying to make the panel and the color and maybe the shadows all kind of line up to what you think is a perfect piece. Detroit's a very inspiring place, from its heydays to its troubled past to its I guess regeneration. It's inspiring and evolving and reinventing itself. Me and my brother have kind of grown up in the Detroit electronic music scene, Detroit techno scene. I also do some DJing. So there's always been this kind of undercurrent of, I guess, rhythm and line, color, all those words that are used to describe music, I think people use to describe my work. My brother is Matthew Hawtin, and he's I would say, world famous DJ in electronic music. And he's known as, I guess, coming from the second wave of Detroit techno. And we both have always kind of influenced each other, whether my brother's looking at my art or art that I'm interested in. And I'm also listening to his music that he makes and his DJ sets. I've never really tried to paint a song. I don't want to try to paint music with my art. I think it's just more organically over the years it's kind of come out that, maybe my work is representative of, electronic music, which is repetitive. I think for most artists, their creative process is always ongoing, and usually I think it's one piece leads to another. So you're working on something and then you have an idea for something else. In terms of inspiration, I think it's similar. You just kind of continue the thread of how you're trying to evolve the work. I guess mentally how I get inspired, sometimes, it's just reading a book, or with me, sometimes my titles come first. So I have a name in my head or a word, and I want to try and, I guess, evoke that or shape that or do a color that goes with that. I recently did a piece called, I called it Starburst, and it's a canvas piece, but I painted the sides different colors. And I had done it in the past too, but doing it again with new colors and with this new frame, I think it's one of these successful pieces which could, lead me somewhere else. At the moment, I'm showing at David Klein Gallery in their new space downtown Detroit. I also work with a gallery in San Diego called Scott White. I was actually at David Klein the other day, and a woman walked in and she, did a loop of the gallery. And she actually commented on my gray painting. She didn't know that I was the artist, but she gave the thumbs up and said, wow, that's so calming. That's one of those rare occasions when you can get that feedback from someone. And it's funny because I didn't paint the painting to be calm. I think I'm going for something different. But if it made someone calm and someone just maybe relax for a few seconds, then I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm happy that my paintings can do that.
You can learn more about Matthew Hawtin at DetroitPerforms.org.